Since starting my business in 2018, I have become a bookworm. I make sure I religiously read every single day, and I have a tactic that I don't just read and it goes in one ear and out the other, or in my brain and out. I make sure that I physically take actionable points from every book that I invest the time to read, and I then take those points, those ideas, those concepts and learnings, and I deploy them into the business. I deploy them with my team, I deploy them with our marketing, our sales, our data, everything about our business, and every challenge that we're in, I will find the best book on the subject from somebody who's been there, done that, and can give me actionable learning. And for sometimes usually under £15, I can solve my biggest challenge in that moment. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 6 books that have really helped me and are some of the best lessons I've taken, and my tactic for how I don't just read a book and it goes nowhere. Reading didn't come naturally to me. When I was younger, I didn't see the value in it. And I think the big issue was I wasn't spending time reading things that really added value and that were really going to contribute to me having a better day tomorrow. And once I started and I found the world of personal development books, business books, and my life is consumed around that through building the businesses that I'm working on building. Once I started to get into the right books, that's when I really found a love for reading. And I've tried digital books, I've tried audio books, and then physical books. And for me, the one way for it to really stick and for the knowledge to sink in is this bad boy. To get yourself a highlighter with a physical book, and as you're opening the pages and you find the gems, you find the one-liners that you just think, wow, that is golden nuggets. You take the highlighter and you highlight. And then what you do at the end of the book or at the end of the chapter, however you want to work, is you recap through all of the key highlighted points and you then transfer that into notes. So for me, like my Apple Notes, I'll transfer key notes and lessons from only the best. So it's almost like a process of elimination. So you read the book, you then will take the key points highlighted, then you will transfer the key highlighted points into an even shorter list of the real gem nuggets that are really relatable for you in the moment into a note-taking form, such as a notebook or your Apple Notes, those kinds of things that then you reflect on regularly. So when you're on the train, when you're traveling, before you turn over at night and you want them to really sink in and you want to master those key points, they're the bits. When you reread it, it starts to stick. And it's just that repetition and that repetitive nature of rereading those key points, it will start to stick. Now, some people may have the fortune of being able to read a book and it all just sticks straight away. For me, that isn't it. And so once I've discovered the power of the highlighter, it really transformed in spending and investing the time in reading, and it wasn't in vain because it was actually beginning to stick, and I was finding myself repeating it and teaching my colleagues, my friends about what I'd read because I'd highlighted it, and then I was really on the road of mastery. And that is my golden ticket success. If you're going to invest in personal development and business reading books, grab yourself a highlighter along with the book. Now let's get into my top 6 books. Book number 1 is The Discipline of Thinking Time by Keith J. It's not called that, is it? Book number 1 is The Road Less Stupid by Keith J. Cunningham. Now, I came across Keith J. Cunningham via YouTube at some of the talks that he'd done, and this guy just blew me away. He's built, I believe, hundreds of businesses in all different sectors, and the guy is just an absolute fountain of knowledge. I actually think he's one of the most underrated, business wisdom people, as I would call them, that there is out there, but he's just not well known enough, I don't think. And I've read 2 of his books, and I believe he's only got 2, he may have 3. The book, I was just consumed by it. I've read the book itself cover to cover 3 times, over and over, because it's just so powerful. And basically this first book is my favourite one. It's the first one I read. It's all about the questions that you ask yourself in business and in your life. And so it has really actionable questions that in every chapter it's talking about the road less stupid. It's all about the success is really not making the dumb decisions and avoiding, making more of the right decisions and less of the really what he calls dumb decisions. And the book is just incredible. It blew me away, and I'll give you a couple of the examples of the text and the questions that are in here. And I think that it'd be really impactful. It's a fantastic book. And I just think it's so powerful. It gives me, I really believe in the power of thinking time and journaling. So when you've got a big challenge, getting your notebook out. And this, I thought I asked myself some good questions before in the morning, like when I'd have a coffee and I'd come in and I'd start to plan my day. But this takes it to another level of some of the questions it would ask you on each given day. So as an example, right here, there's a thinking time all around growth strategies, a chapter on growth strategies for your business. And there's just that thing of, it's so basic and obvious, but not enough people just stop to brainstorm on a pad these ideas. So there's a question in here around, take the time to think about, why aren't my sales 2 times bigger than they are today? Brackets, really. What would happen to cause a potential customer to not buy from me? And then what can I do to eliminate those issues? What are the specific friction points that cause customers to hesitate or decline doing business with us? And I just think that they're so basic things that a lot of people go, well, yeah, that's obvious, but it's not obvious, because most of us, and myself included, don't stop to think about those things, and it's just treading water day after day, moaning that we've not got enough sales in. But actually, if you stop and break it down and take the time to think about why you're not where you want to be, the answers are all in your brain. You just need something like this book to ask you the questions, to prize it out, and then deploy those things and actually take action on it. So The Road Less Stupid, I just think you'd be stupid not to get the book. Book number 2 is Think Like Amazon by John Rossman. Fantastic book that I picked up just recently. Again, I don't feel is very mainstream, not very well talked about. I'm obsessed with Amazon and I just love what they've done. I think it is just a truly incredible business, and it baffles me that everything they seem to touch is just a roaring success. And I really believe when you actually analyse it, it's all about their founding principles, the way that they conduct business, and their sort of DNA that's within those 4 walls of their sort of core organisation. And so any book that I can get my hand on by somebody like John, who was a top exec, who spent time in meetings, key critical decisions with Jeff Bezos in the founding years, I think that is just golden information and just golden insight into the way these people's brains worked. And a lot of the thing that you'll see in some of my previous videos where we've started to implement the WBR, the Weekly Business Review, is really talked about in these books by the key core principles and how they ran their weekly business reviews, the data that they interpreted, their frugality, and all the principles that they've deployed in every business that they've gone through. And this is a real behind the scenes, not the fluff on, we set this business up, we did this. This is how they treated their teams, how they looked at scaling, how they made a decision about going into things, how they built frugality into the business. I think it's so key. So this is a great read, especially if you're interested in the story of Amazon and their principles on how they've built such a successful, profitable business. There's a key extract from the book that I wanted to share, which is all around the metrics element of Amazon and how they run such a monstrous business, really from data decks, which is where we've taken the inspiration from. And there's a section in here that says about, you should be able to answer the question, did my customers have a good day today, just by looking at a deck of metrics. And what that's really talking about is that your metrics need to be so detailed. Your metric decision of, did my customers have a good day today, is not by the sales that you've taken that day, which is what most people, all they're interested in is how much did we take today, how much is in the till today. Actually, you need to go deeper than that and be able to know, did my customers genuinely have a good, easy day and enjoy working with us as a company today? And you measure that by going deeper with input metrics like, what were the wait times? What was the response times? How quickly did we get back to people? How fast was our website? How many new products were put on the site today? All those kinds of things are just huge. And so it's really deep diving into the key of metrics and how they run such a big business based on metrics. So yeah, Think Like Amazon. Love it. Book number 3 is Principles by Ray Dalio. Ray built a monstrous business called Bridgewater Associates years and years ago, and this is golden. Not only is the book just lovely to hold, touch, and just like the quality of it is just stunning. It's really enjoyable, and it's these kind of books that make me love reading physical books as opposed to digital, because you just enjoyable. It's a bit weird like that, but that's just the way it goes. But this book is actually not just for anybody building a business, but this is life and business principles, and it just some of the golden nuggets. I've never found myself using the highlighter so much as in this book. There's just complete golden nuggets on his outlook on life, and through employing hundreds and hundreds of people, Ray has developed these sort of set of founding principles on how to live a fantastic life, how to enjoy getting up every day, and his sort of philosophy on investment and making business decisions. And I just think it's just so relatable. And if I could get everybody, even not if you're just working for a business, not actually running a business, if everybody just read this book, I think the world would be a better place. A key extract that I really love in the book is around remembering that weaknesses don't really matter as long as you take action to find a solution. So there's people like Richard Branson that talks about, his sort of need of, he hadn't had education in certain elements, but he just had this uncontrollable thing of, I would just find somebody that would do it for me and work with me to do it. So he would just master delegator. And I think that actually in this book, it hit me again of, remember that we've all got weaknesses. And as long as you are humble enough and self-aware enough to know where you're weak and bring in people to complement your skill set, then it's just a no-brainer and you can still be successful. And there's a bit here that says, everyone has at least one big thing that stands in their way of success. Find yours and deal with it. And that's either deal with it by improving your education, improving your self-discipline, or bring someone in to help you, to hold you to account and improve. Or delegate when you get to a certain position and let them do it for you. So me, for example, I'm not great at timekeeping. So I'm trying to implement systems, get people to hold me to account so that they come in and knock on my door and say, are we ready now? Those kinds of things, reminders on my phone 20 minutes before popping up, trying to give myself 15-minute increments in between, meetings to give me a bit of bandwidth. Those sort of things, find systems and just learn the big thing that's standing in your way of success and just bloody deal with it. Book number 4 is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And this book is all around the very power of that daily discipline, about tiny little daily disciplines, the small little decisions that you make that can really shape your future and your life and change you from where you are now to where your dream would be. And I've seen this in myself, in just the power of tiny daily habits and tiny daily disciplines of making those decisions that are so easy to do, but also so easily not to do. Going for a walk, sending 5 outreach emails a day, posting on LinkedIn once every single day, producing content like we're doing right here today. The compound effect of that every single day, you don't notice the impact on day 1. You don't even notice it on day 2, day 10, but maybe by day 100, if you've outreached to 5 people every single day for 100 days, you will see the difference in your life. And this book is all centered around those tiny little decisions and how the things that are so easy to do are also so easy not to do, and how people veer off into 2 different camps. And that's ultimately the decisions that we make that really just determine what direction we're going. So I really believe in this book, and I think it's huge. There's a great little graphic in here which is really showing you about where you're heading, and it really shows you on that sort of slight edge curve, and you can almost start to plot, if you're really honest with yourself, about whether you're in that sort of 5%er category or if you're in the 95%. And it's all around what's uncomfortable very early on becomes very comfortable later, and you start to head into that 5% success, or what's comfortable early becomes uncomfortable later. So I look at it very simply, and I am guilty of this at times, but I do it in moderation. So what's uncomfortable early is getting up on a Sunday morning and doing some exercise at 8 o'clock in the morning. And having a workout, feeling like, oh, I've got to get up, and then opting for a healthy breakfast is very uncomfortable first thing, when you just really want to lay in bed, do nothing, and then have a fry up at 11 o'clock. But the long term, later, that you feel great afterwards, and long term, that compound effect will just revolutionise your health. And then on Monday morning, when you've had a great weekend, you'll feel so fired up, energetic, and long term, it will pay dividends for you. The comfortable early, but uncomfortable later is, like I say, to lay in, to not bother, and to just not having any exercise that day and eat some crap, some frozen sausages from the freezer at 11 o'clock. And that will, up front, it's very comfortable. Oh, what a lovely relaxing Sunday we've had. But actually, that's not going to pay for itself further down the line, because come Monday, you're going to feel really tired, really groggy, and you're not going to be geared up for success to build the life that you're trying to build. And so that's the power of this, and it's really powerful. Book number 5 is Hacking Growth by Sean Ellis and Morgan Brown. I read this a few years ago and I've reread it a couple of times. It really woke me up. We are obviously building e-commerce websites, some lead generation websites, and this is all about these guys who have gone in to follow the stories of some of the most biggest website and tech-based companies' breakout success. There's information in here about PayPal's hacking growth strategy, those kinds of things, where they've gone in and they've hit a bit of a stumbling block in terms of they've had some early success for their business, but how do they really hack? What's the hack and growth model as to how they really build? And they analyze businesses who have set up internal growth teams of 5 to 10 people within their businesses, and the strategies that Facebook, these kinds of tech-based platforms have used to really hack and go up to another level by tiny little percentage changes in adding a button here, changing a strategy for how they referral schemes, those sort of things. And it blew my mind, and it made me realize the power of making 1% improvements to our platform and our website every single week. And now we have goals which are built into our sort of metric decks of how many new experiments have we run each week, and how many new trials of changing a button, changing a color on a landing page, changing text, building a new feature. How many of those things are we rolling out, and then how are we tracking it in terms of our conversion rate, trying to make those 0.1% gains every week. And hacking growth will really spur you on. So if you're building a website, an e-com platform, an online store, get yourself into the Hacking Growth book, because I think it's so powerful. A great section in the book is all around creating a bit of a funnel report on where your conversions are and your drop-offs are on the website and the journey. And there's some examples of and that's what I like about this book, is it doesn't just talk, it gives you sort of diagrams and graphics and graphs to really back up what they're saying, so you can visualize something that you can take, swipe it and deploy it into your business and almost imitate it as your sort of phase 1. And it's looking at where are their different sort of visited the site, when do they then activate, when do they then drop off, and it's really powerful. And I think that using those sort of things to actually analyse, they may love the homepage, but once they get onto a product page, it's killed because it's confusing them, it's the call to action is not clear enough, and I think that's really important. So yeah, nice tip from that book. Number 6, The Collected Writings of Jeff Bezos. This, I was a bit skeptical about how much value I would get from this, but this is effectively, as an introduction by Walter Isaacson, which is somebody who's followed, lots of billionaires around and studied them. But these is basically a collection of all of the shareholder letters that Jeff Bezos has wrote to shareholders of Amazon since day one. And they're all documented in year order. And I went away on holiday a few years ago and I read this. And I've just found myself reading these shareholder letters amazed at some of the value and his philosophy and the way he was looking at things and the way he was explaining things to his shareholders, bearing in mind that for 14 odd years they didn't even make a profit. And he had to keep all these people on side and say, look, we're going to get there, we're heading on, we need some more cash. And it just amazed me at the power of his writing and the letters that he sent to people and his philosophy of how they were going to turn things around, and about it's always day one mentality, about the long-term game that they were playing to build the Amazon brand. And I just took so much value from this that I've definitely shaped my philosophy about how we should be playing the long game in our business and not aiming for short-term monetization. So really good, really enjoyed that book, and I really recommend you getting your head into those letters to shareholders. And it's given me ideas to actually study other companies that have, I really look up to and study their shareholder letters, which are all very public. And so, yeah, I'd really recommend getting into that book. A section that really hit me that I highlighted was a letter that Jeff sent to shareholders back in 2016. And it said, "There are many advantages to a customer-centric approach, but here's the big one. Customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied, even when they report being happy and that business is great. Even when they don't yet know it, customers want something better, and your desire to delight customers will drive you to invent on their behalf. No customer ever asked Amazon to create the Prime membership program, but it sure turns out they wanted it, and I could give you so many examples." And just think, it hit me. I was like, yeah, nobody did ask for the Prime program, but we all absolutely live and breathe it. We love it. And I just think that actually that's the true customer obsession. When it's just you're getting 5-star reviews coming in and everything's going great, that's normally when people sort of take their foot off the gas a little bit. But that's when, you really need to be doubling down. And there's so many great bits in the book about, the customer obsession and their sort of philosophy that I believe got them to where they are. So reading those letters, it's just so powerful. So that's it. They're my top 6 books that I really believe have changed my mindset, changed my thinking, and given me so much great knowledge that I've taken actionable points away from, implemented it into our business. And I really believe that those books are one of the founding reasons that we've managed in a few short years to build our business from a small one-man band in the bedroom to almost a £10 million group of businesses involving property, multiple other industries, as well as promotional products, and on to more and more over the next few years. And while we're here, if you'd love to follow along as we document our journey and the day in the life vlogs of building this group of businesses, then we'd be so grateful if you could hit subscribe and follow along for the journey.